The anticipated trial of Mayor Eddie Perez, Reese Norris, Pedro Segarra. Everyone's waiting with bated breath on this. Distraction. Let's talk from a citywide standpoint, Mr. Segarra. How distracting is this for you as a councilman and as a resident?
Well, on the council end, I'm trying not to let it distract our business because we have a challenge in terms of addressing the budget as we go into budget deliberations. It is a distraction in the sense that it does draw focus on the city, on the administration with regards to normal operations.
So point blank, should the mayor step aside, at least temporarily, while this trial goes on?
Well, I think that there's a division of that viewpoint amongst council people. There are a couple of council people that believe that he should not step aside, and they're very supportive of him maintaining the position of mayor even though he is on trial. There is those who are more moderate, about 4 of us, who thinks that, yes, he should have stepped aside, but given the fact that he has given indication that he doesn't intend to step aside, that we will monitor the situation closely and make sure...
That's where you stand. That's where you are, too,
right? That's where I stand. I mean, I think that our options as a council are very limited. Rather than getting ourselves in a constitutional crisis over who should be the mayor, I think that we best focus our attentions on doing the council business and then just see how it goes from a day to day. I've been very clear, and other council people have been very clear, I think the majority, that if they feel that it gets to the point that city business is not progressing and that this is extremely counterproductive, that we will renew our call to the mayor to step aside if we reach that point.
Let's take a look at some reaction from 2 Hartford leaders to what they think, and then get some reaction from Reese Norris on whether or not there's a strategic advantage to stepping aside or staying in the job. Let's take a look at some reactions from the 2 city leaders. Okay. All right, we don't have sound there for that. Okay, we'll come back there. One was saying, Cornell Lewis was saying that the mayor has not been convicted and deserves the presumption of innocence. Larry George was saying, hey, he's too distracted. We're not making any judgments, but better to step aside. Reese Norris, is there an advantage strategically to staying in the seat, or is there one to stepping aside temporarily?
I think as a defense lawyer, I think the strategic move is to keep him in the position as mayor.
Why?
Because there is some clout that goes with that position. It's the respect that someone gives to someone who holds that position. And a juror prospectively might think that, well, why did he step aside? If he did nothing wrong, why isn't he continuing to run the city of Hartford? So I think strategically it's a right move to have him continue as mayor.
Recent memory, no politician in this situation has ever stepped aside, right? I think Joe Ganim stayed in office, John Rowland stayed in office, Phil Giordano stayed in office. So it almost seems, I can't think of any precedent where a sitting politician has indeed stepped aside. Temporarily.
I know of none, and I think that's because their lawyers probably advise them that, listen, we're going to support you. You stay in your position. You're the mayor, and we expect you to be the mayor after this trial, and you have to take that positive attitude.
You're one of the top defense attorneys around the state. Let's put now jury selection on the table. How critical is this situation here for Hubie Santo to find the right jurors? Because all it takes is one to kind of jam this thing up. What's going to be going through Hubie Santo's mind during jury deliberation?
Defense lawyers believe that this is perhaps the most important part of the trial, and we know how to do cross-examination and direct examination because we have a better understanding of those individuals with whom we're dealing. These are strangers, and so you have to come to get a sense of knowing them and trying to have someone who you believe will be receptive to your arguments and not have any prejudice which will deny your client a fair and impartial evaluation of the evidence.
Race has been thrown out there. The idea that you want to have a diverse pool if you're the defense, you want to have as many folks of color, Latinos in particular, to help at least enhance the benefit of the doubt for the mayor. That sound strategic strategy, or can that backfire? Can you make an assumption that someone who's simply Latino is going to back the mayor? Can that backfire on you if you're not careful?
Oh, it can. I don't think any good lawyer just judges someone on their race. I mean, that would be a foolish thing to do. You may want a diverse juror, of course, but you also want to know how they think, how they process information, what type of feelings they have coming into this case. And again, as I said, will they be receptive to the types of arguments you're going to be making?
Pedro Segarra, Latino community, what are you hearing pro and con from the community as this trial comes to fruition in May?
Well, I think that there's a split community, people supporting that he step aside, people supporting the idea that he stay, and that he's entitled to his trial as a means of determining whether there's guilt or innocence. So you get a varying viewpoint within the community. It's not overwhelming support or overwhelming feelings of people asking him to step down.
Either way, you have a weakened situation, it would seem. If the mayor is indeed convicted, then you have really a turmoil and upheaval in the city. If he is acquitted, then you still have a very wounded mayor. And sort of, how do you deal with that as a council member, as a president? Your thoughts on that?
Well, I've been trying to have council be a more dynamic council in terms of establishing policy. I think that I've been in somewhat of a disagreement regarding what a strong mayor means. I've always felt that we should have a strong mayor, but that we also have a strong council who develops and promotes and generates policy. And then it's an issue of working with the executive to making sure that those policies are executed. So I've never been a proponent of the strong mayor as being the absolute authority in the city. And I think that that's the responsibility, and that's what makes an effective government. When you have divisions of responsibilities within the government so that you have balances, you have checks, and you have balances, and you have apportionment of responsibility.
Okay, not enough of that here, you're saying. So, Reese, real quick in about 30 seconds, if you're the prosecutors, what is the most striking piece of evidence you want to drive home to the jury? What's your biggest point you want to make in closing argument in 15 seconds?
I think I want to push the argument that this is a breach of trust and that the people should be entitled to greater responsibility and integrity from their political leaders. And I think that that's the posture I would take, that this is not only a crime but a breach of trust.
If you're Hubie Santo and Hope Seeley, the defense attorneys, what's the one thing you want to drive home in your closing argument, that one or two bullet points to this jury?
I want to drive home that I have a person who works for the people. He's the mayor. And that why would he be so foolish as to jeopardize this position which he sought so hard to achieve by doing what the state alleges he has done?
You had a gray area also right between that where, okay, what he did may have been unethical, but was a criminal. And that's a point that may be also talked about in this also, correct?
And they're going to stress that the state has to prove each and every element by what is known as proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And if there's one reasonable doubt, they must acquit.
Pedro Segarra, a lot of folks saying that you're the next person in line. Do you have ambitions? I mean, what's this like for you? Because if it turns one way, you're the next guy in the hot seat, so to speak, as mayor. Quick thoughts on that? You up for that?
It would be a responsibility that I would undertake by default. I didn't run for mayor. I wasn't elected mayor. But our system of government provides for a mechanism for transitions when transitions need to occur. And if that transition needed to happen, I will do my best to fulfill that responsibility as I've done in the past in other positions. But it will be by default.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll have you back again. Thanks for your time.